Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Efrosini Constantino. Everybody knows me as Effie. It is a great pleasure to have everyone here today. Thank you very much for joining us for this webinar on the transformational role of philosophy in project management. What we are going to do today is that we are going to talk a little bit about the motivation behind this special call and this special issue. And then we are going to talk a little bit about the logistics in terms of your contributions and the papers that you will be hopefully submitting to this special collection. So let's start from the beginning. A short history of where these ideas started from. In 2016, Professor Ralph Mueller, Ralph and myself, we edited the first special issue with the aim to introduce the role of philosophy in project management. And at that time, we received a very significant number of submissions. It was about 44 submissions, if I remember correctly. And even though these submissions were not necessarily fully adopting a philosophical lens, if you like, we felt that we hit a nerve because we had such a significant number of submissions which were submitted from the community. So this notion of philosophy created a very significant interest, and ultimately we ended up publishing 11 high-quality papers in the Project Management Journal. In our editorial in 2016, we concluded that philosophy has a very clear role to play in practice, and that is to offer and propose a range of ideals that can be developed into entire philosophies that can guide and inform practice. So at that stage with Ralph, we wanted to introduce philosophy, but not in an abstract or vague sense and way, but in a very close connection to practice and as a way of living that influences not only our projects and their management and our work more broadly, but also our life. 10 years later, we come back with a reinforced team, which includes myself leading this special collection with David Wilson, Henk de Uyel, and of course, Ralph Mueller. This time, our aim is to carry on advancing interdisciplinarity between project scholarship and philosophy. We believe that it's very important that when we are talking about projects and their management, we are not restricted within the strict boundaries of project scholarship, and we have to extend to other disciplines, and philosophy is a very important discipline. It is considered to be the mother of all disciplines. Secondly, we want to raise awareness that philosophy underlies the identity of the project scholar and our work. Most of us today, the majority of the people attending this webinar are doctors of philosophy. So philosophy, the curiosity, the love for wisdom is inherent in our titles and our identities as academics, and it has very significant implications for the meaning of our work, but also our work has very significant ethical and political implications. Lastly, but certainly not least, we aim this time to encourage deep reflection and imagination, very importantly, about the assumptions that underlie project scholarship and practice. So we want to go deep into those assumptions that guide our thinking about projects and their management, and ultimately to inspire field-level transformation in project scholarship and practice. So we want to the aim that we have with this special collection is to produce a number of papers where each paper is going to set a new dimension or a new direction in project scholarship or practice. We believe that this is very important because in management and also in project management, scholarship has been hijacked by an instrumental orientation. Everything that we are talking about is about processes, tools, techniques, methodologies, methods, and we believe it's very important that we carry on looking for the meaning and the purpose that we find not only in ourselves but also in our work. So it's not only about the process and the way that we do things, but it is also about the why we actually do whatever it is that we are doing. And at the scholarship level, this leads to us having personal legitimation and advancing responsible research, which actually means that we should be able to stand by and live by our research. It is very important to believe the things that we say to the extent that we would personally follow our own advice. So we have focused on philosophy because philosophy is very important in helping us work with ideals, where an ideal is a value that steers man so that he is moved towards achievement. And examples of ideals can be health, peace, justice, or any of these very significant big concepts, big ideas, big notions that we have throughout the civilization of humanity. We have chosen this definition by Edel, not necessarily because we are interested in the notion of man. It can actually be women who are steered by philosophy or any person of any gender orientation. And we are not necessarily interested in the notion of achievement, but we have chosen this definition because we are very much interested in this notion of moving towards. So with philosophy, we have the ability to inspire. We can be inspired. Philosophy can inspire us. It can motivate us. It can help us reach from point A to point B. It can reform and transform the way that we are actually thinking through these ideals that we can work with through the different philosophical propositions of the different philosophers. Ideals are also a source of social, cultural, and political problematization and polemics. So, through ideals, people in society have organized in order to move civilization forward. An example of this is feminism, where notions of equality have helped different parts of the society to organize and bring themselves together in ways which are very meaningful. But also, ideals are sources of polemics. So, ideals also create conflicts in societies. And unfortunately, we have a lot of examples of those. So, overall, we could say that ideals are very powerful concepts. They have a lot of power, have a lot of power, and they can mobilize society for good and for bad as well. Ideals also transcend and extend beyond disciplinary, special, temporal, but also any kind of boundaries. So, the notion of health has always existed. Perhaps it has been more important in certain eras and certain points in time in our civilization, or it has been less important, and it has been less important in others, but it has always existed. So ideals are these very big concepts, these very big ideas, which are transcendental and they extend beyond all kinds of boundaries. They are also shaped by cultural, socioeconomic, and political factors. So ideals are they are morphed, they are shaped by our societies. The way that we understood health 100 years ago is not the way that we understand health today. So they are movable, they change, they are dynamic in themselves, and ultimately they can bring an evolution or even a revolution in society and its sciences with very significant political and ethical implications. So, because we have this focus on ideals, because philosophy helps us work with ideals, we have put this special collection together and we have invited the papers and your contributions. Moving a little bit forward, some potential topics of interest. Please keep in mind that these are just indicative. You can write on any topic that is of interest to you. You don't need to answer these questions, even though if you would like to, that is also welcome. And it's perhaps interesting to say here that these are some of the questions that have brought us as guest editors together. So some of the ideas that we have been thinking for a number of years. So let's have a look at these. So what can different philosophical traditions, such as existentialism or pragmatism, say about the project and its management? Does the practice of project management have a meaningful social purpose or intrinsic good in the same way that the practice of medicine takes care of health? The notion the practice of law takes care of justice, and the practice of education takes care of knowledge? Or is project management merely instrumental? Is there a higher value or an intrinsic good behind the practice and the discipline of project management, or is it just instrumental? And we should not be talking about ideals. We should not be talking about philosophical concepts. It's just merely an instrumental organizational matter. What can philosophy say about the legitimacy of projects as forms of work organization? So here we are asking, should we have projects? In today's work, we organize work according to projects, into projects, but does that justify? How is that justified? Why is that legitimized that we have projects? What are the explanations that we can provide for projects as legitimate forms of work organization? What are the political and ethical implications of projects as forms of work organization? So when we organize work around projects, how are we influencing society, stakeholders, future generations, politically and ethically? Also, there is an interest in methodologies and methods. So from an epistemic perspective, how is the knowledge of project scholarship produced? And to what extent do dominant epistemic perspectives bring about questions and methods that include ideals and social purpose? And ultimately, what is and or can be the philosophy of the project profession? So these are some of the questions that we have been interested in. Again, it's very important to emphasize that you should feel free to write about any topic and any philosophy that is interesting to you. And now let's talk a little bit about what we expect to see from the contributions. As usual, we are looking for well-researched and referenced contributions. You are writing for the International Journal of Project Management. So this is one of the best journals in our field. So we are looking for well-researched, well-referenced contributions. Sometimes when we talk about philosophy, people feel that it is a free flow, a stream of consciousness. We want to see your arguments. We want to see your analysis. We want to see the references that you have used. We want to see how you have developed your thinking critically in developing your contribution. And of course, there is a focus. We want to see significant uptake and evidence of philosophy in the paper. So you can write on any one philosopher or any one philosophical tradition. And there we would expect to see some references directly from the chosen philosopher or philosophical tradition, but also some commentaries on the main texts. So if, for example, you are writing a paper that uses Michel Foucault, we would expect to see some papers, some references from Foucault himself, but also some commentaries on the topics of and Foucault's ideas on the topics that you have chosen to talk about. So we want to see that you are conversant with the philosophical approach or the philosopher that you have chosen to use to explain projects and their management. And then very importantly, we want you to have a section in your paper, most probably in the conclusion, where you explain what is the field level transformational impact of your contribution in project scholarship. What are the areas, the themes, the topics, and the stakeholders that are affected? And very importantly, how are they affected? So because we are writing interdisciplinarily, because we are bringing in philosophy, sometimes we see that authors are reluctant or perhaps a little bit hesitant to be bold about the implications of their work and the implications of their analysis. If you have produced a well-researched and well-referenced contribution, we want you to be as bold as possible and to tell us exactly how you see the field of project management or the specific topic area that you have chosen to write on, how that is going to be transformed. So we want new dimensions, new directions from each one of the contributions. Submission and the review process, this is fairly standard. There isn't anything, no surprises here. So the deadline for extended abstracts is the 2nd of March. The feedback on extended abstracts will be provided within the month. And then in 3-4 days, on the 3rd of April, we are going to have a virtual workshop for the authors of accepted extended abstracts. The submission period for the papers is going to start on the 1st of June and it will end on the 30th of September. And we aim to finish with the overall collection in November 2027. But it's very important here to say that the papers will be published on a rolling basis. So whenever a paper is ready for publication, it is going to be published, and we are not going to wait until November 2027. So the papers will be immediately published when the reviewing process has been completed. And the reviewing process itself, it's going to follow the standard IJPM procedures and standards. We are thinking that perhaps we might allocate one guest editor to each paper to guide the authors and their contributions through the entire process. But that is to be decided. We are waiting to see how many papers there are and what is reasonable to do to maintain the highest possible quality. So this is a brief introduction, and now we can move to some questions and answers and a very good discussion. And thank you very much for listening.